Friends, a college teacher punished for not teaching her girl students properly. What happened next shocked everyone. So, friends, what happened next will truly surprise you. That's why you must watch the video till the very end. In the calm, affluent neighborhood of Greenwood Creek, California, where every morning was bright, golden, and seemingly perfect, one particular laugh echoed that shook the town awake. It wasn't a laugh of joy. It was a painful, uncontrollable, and endlessly cruel echo. It was the laughter of Eleanor Vance, the toughest chemistry teacher in the country, who had just been punished by an unknown assailant using her greatest weakness, tickling. Eleanor Vance was an institution unto herself, the reigning queen of Greenwood Creek High School's chemistry lab. She firmly believed that science, logic, and mathematics were only meant for those with a solid mindset, and according to her, that mindset was something boys were born with. She openly told her female students that their place was in homes, arts, or soft subjects. Nobody quite understood her prejudice. She herself was a genius. But deep down, she carried an old wound, a hidden loss, which she projected onto others. Rumor had it that Eleanor had deliberately sabotaged the futures of at least 5 girls, ensuring they could never get into science colleges. One cold Wednesday night, as Eleanor was finalizing a new curriculum alone in the lab, she noticed an envelope slide under the door. There was no address. Inside, there was a plain brown class ring engraved with the initials AF. Along with it was a small handwritten note. "You've stolen their dreams, madam. Now the system will answer you." Eleanor was furious. She tossed the ring into the trash, assuming it was just a prank. But then, suddenly, all the lab lights flickered and went out. In the darkness, she smelled something strange, a sweet, burning scent, like cotton candy. Her head grew light, and within seconds, her body went numb. She couldn't move, couldn't speak, but her eyes stayed open. It was a gas, a nerve agent that paralyzed the motor neurons but amplified touch sensitivity 100-fold. This wasn't a prank, it was professional. Then from the ceiling, a soft mechanical voice echoed, "Welcome, Eleanor. Now you'll know how it feels when your mind dreams, but your body is bound in chains." And then, descending from the shadows, 4 tiny spider-like drones floated toward her. Their bodies were made of aluminum, but each carried soft goose feathers spinning rapidly at the base. The drones positioned themselves precisely at her most sensitive spots, the soles of her feet, the base of her neck, and the sides of her ribs. The tickling began. At first it was faint, then unbearable. Eleanor's body wanted to scream, but her throat was locked. Tears streamed down her face, and all that came out was uncontrollable mechanical laughter, loud, endless, and hollow. The mechanical voice spoke again. "Do you remember Sarah Bishop? You said girls couldn't build robots." Her laughter stopped, Eleanor. "Now hear your own." The tickling intensified. Eleanor remembered. Sarah was a gifted student she'd pushed toward culinary school. Through her tears, Eleanor saw her 16-year-old self the day her mentor told her she should give up science.
This punishment wasn't just physical. It was pulling out every buried piece of pain she had inflicted on others. Suddenly, the main door burst open. Standing there was Arthur Finch, the school's quiet, lonely janitor, holding a remote control. "Enough, Arthur! The police are on their way!" shouted Dawn Bishop, Sarah's mother, who had secretly been watching Eleanor's activities. Arthur dropped the remote. The drones froze mid-air. The tickling stopped. Eleanor's laughter broke into sobs. Arthur's voice was calm but cracked. "I just wanted her to laugh again. My daughter Clara. You sent her to art class instead of science. One day I found her lifeless. She said her dreams had become a cruel joke. I tried so hard to make her laugh again, but she never did." He looked at Eleanor. "If you couldn't feel their pain through empathy, then you'll feel it through your own laughter. Police arrested Arthur Finch. Investigations revealed he had made the nerve agent from his old robotics manuals, and the drones were modeled after Clara's childhood sketches. Eleanor was hospitalized, and when she returned, she was a completely changed woman. She resigned from her job and donated all her wealth to establish a trust called the Lost Smiles Foundation to fund scholarships for girls who had once been discouraged from pursuing science and technology. Arthur Finch received only a few months in prison. The jury was deeply moved by his grief and the unique nature of his crime. Even today, Greenwood Creek hasn't forgotten Eleanor Vance's laughter, a reminder that the most painful punishments don't break the body, they break the soul, only to rebuild it stronger. Eleanor spent 3 weeks in the hospital. Physically, she healed, but mentally she was never the same perfect teacher. The tickle torture had altered her nervous system. Even the idea of laughter or tickling filled her with unbearable anxiety. She poured all her energy into the Lost Smiles Foundation, not just to offer scholarships, but to seek out the girls she had once discouraged from pursuing science and technology. Her first call was to Sarah Bishop, now an intern at a small startup in Los Angeles, her robotics dreams long dead. When Eleanor confessed her mistake and awarded Sarah the foundation's first full scholarship, Sarah couldn't believe it. In that emotional moment, Eleanor felt genuine compassion for the first time, something far more complex than any chemical formula she had ever taught. 6 months later, Arthur Finch was released, a quiet, broken man. His daughter Clara was still withdrawn, but the strange justice he had carried out brought her a fragile sense of peace. One evening, Arthur took Clara to her favorite childhood carnival. When she smelled the scent of cotton candy, she smiled, faintly but truly. The same scent he'd used to paralyze Eleanor. Seeing that smile, Arthur's eyes filled with tears. He felt that maybe his twisted justice had finally started healing Clara's spirit too. A week after his release, Arthur received another envelope in his old-school locker. Inside wasn't a ring this time, but a half-burnt photograph. It showed a young Eleanor Vance at a science fair, standing beside a stern-faced professor. On the back was a note. "Mr. Finch, you were just a pawn. The real game has only begun." Arthur realized there was a third player, someone who knew Eleanor's past deeply, someone who had used his grief to orchestrate everything. Arthur, once just a janitor, now became an investigator. He dug into Eleanor's old records and discovered that the man in the photo was her former mentor, Dr. Hicks, now a professor at a distant university. Arthur met Eleanor at the Lost Smiles Foundation office. "Do you know Dr. Hicks?" he asked directly. Eleanor's face turned pale. He was my mentor. When I topped high school, he told me to quit science, said I was too emotional for it." "And you took that pain and turned it into a rule for others?" Arthur asked. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes, I did. I turned my hurt into law. But what does Dr. Hicks have to do with all this?" Arthur showed her the half-burnt photo. "He used me. He didn't want your foundation to succeed. He still believes you're unfit. He made me part of his plan." Arthur and Eleanor decided to visit Dr. Hicks's university. There, they discovered he was developing a cyber attack program to destroy the foundation's scholarship database, erasing all of Eleanor's redemptive work. When they confronted him, Dr. Hicks smirked. "You got your punishment, Eleanor," he said. "Now your sentimental foundation dies too." He prepared to hit the final command on his computer. Arthur, still haunted by his trauma, spotted a loose electrical cord by the door. In a split second, he lunged forward, yanking it hard, crashing the server before the command executed. But in that motion, Dr. Hicks's hand brushed Arthur's ribs. the very spot where he'd once been tickled. The sudden sensation triggered his fear again. His body trembled. But this time, instead of laughing, Arthur screamed, not in fear, but in defiance. He had turned his weakness into strength. Eleanor called the police immediately, and Dr. Hicks was arrested for cybercrime. As they left the building, Eleanor looked at Arthur and said softly, "The tickling punishment is over, Arthur. You faced your fear today." Arthur smiled, a deep, real smile. "No, Miss Vance, that punishment made me feel my daughter's pain, and it's what gave me the strength to save your foundation. I still can't laugh, but I've stopped crying." Eleanor's eyes glistened. She realized the tickle punishment had given both of them new purpose. Today, the Lost Smiles Foundation is one of America's most successful scholarship organizations. Eleanor Vance is its head. Arthur Finch now serves as maintenance and security advisor, ensuring no student ever ends up trapped behind a locked door again. Clara Finch, who once lost her smile, is now the Foundation's first robotic scholar. Every time she invents something new in the lab, she looks at her father and gives him a small, genuine smile. And that's where our video ends. If you liked this story, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.